And it's Chaotic Apex here. Finally got a video. Gonna get a video in to start off the new channel. As you can see, it still says Chaotic Rex here, but since I'm not the owner of the PS4, I can't change my ID because I'm labeled as a kid. Let's see. I wanted to do a video Halloween night, but a lot of things happened, and I just didn't feel up to it. Sunday, I tried to record 3 different times, or 2 different times, and found out I wasn't recording both those times. So I was ticked, but you know I had my baby cousin with me, so you know what? It's probably best, I guess. Though I gave y'all like a bunch of ideas though, so I'm a little irritated by that. Listen, I ain't tired getting videos, so that was tired. It's currently like 12 at night or in the morning here, so it's technically Wednesday now, but you know, earlier today or yesterday, I guess technically on Tuesday, which was, you know, I was going to do a recording, then we went to the park, which turned out to be a bust, and then me and my auntie played Call of Duty and recorded it, and we were playing the game and whatnot, but the power outage happened, so I was mad because the whole recording thing we played, and guess what, now I don't even have the recording because the power went out, so I was more mad about that. So hopefully, crosses my fingers, nothing happens here. So we're gonna play Destiny. Like I said, we will be playing some games like Destiny, maybe Call of Duty games on Tuesday with my auntie. I'll try to at least have a video uploaded every Wednesday. I'll try, maybe even weekend. So you'll be seeing me playing Destiny, maybe some Call of Duty games and Monster Hunter at random. Now I don't know if you'll see me playing any games with Bright Time. So she is one of my PlayStation friends, but who knows? Maybe I'll talk to her or whatnot. All my closest friends, you know, they got college and studies support, so I'm not gonna mess with them about no games. But yeah, so we got that. Besides that, December is probably the next time you're gonna see me with any figure reviews. I'm not gonna have any other figures. I mean, I might make another custom, I don't know. But yeah, and then I want to say that I'm actually gonna probably have like some Gears of War explain. Okay, not explain, because I'm not gonna like go over with the origins of the creatures, because I'm gonna have it's like wiki or some mess like that. So no, not explain. I am gonna mention Gears of War stuff. So some's gonna be like, oh, how Mecha Constructs can make the series, if they were to make the series, and how they can operate that. And then, you know, I would probably throw in some theories and some clarifications. I have a way for creator Gears of War to fix their mess. And also I'm thinking about having, dang it, I threw the grenade over here. Oh yeah, anyway, so I'm thinking about having the grenade, I'm tripping. Like, you know, me talking about maybe some certain creatures tomorrow. Okay, so 2 of the things is I wanna talk about like 2 OCs, I guess I'll call it, but I'm not making a story. 2 characters I would think the Swarm could have. And the thing is that, so you know how the Locusts had the general like Scourge and Ram, right? Okay, so I think the Swarm needs it, because you know that's one thing people saying they is upset with the Swarm. It's just like, oh, they don't really have any prominent leaders, which that is true. Besides the speaker, it was not. Now, of course, the Swarm ideas I have are from the newer Swarm, not the Locust turned Seans, because I feel like at that point there'd be no point. Like the speaker, he was technically, even whoever he was beforehand, when he was a Locust, he was beneath like Scourge and Ram and flipping the general below Ram, the dude with the ship, but he was below them. He's below them. So I feel like there's no point of us trying to bring back any surviving generals of the Locust for the Swarm. I just feel like it's pointless. I mean, we can still have some generals, but they're not going to be like anything class of coolness, because you know what are they gonna do? They not had the power. Like, I mean, we literally have Ram with the Skrill, he was awesome. You got Scorpion with the Chainsaw with his flipping Hydra. And then we got like the flipping lower class general who had like a one of a kind corpser thing. I mean, you know, I mean the speaker. I mean, he literally. I mean, he could have probably developed more into a character that could have maybe rivaled them or at least be at least the top 10 with them. But you know, all he did was Zormak, so that's not really cool. So pretty much my OCs for the character, like some like general class or maybe the one that would be important in the story would be like. I have two ideas, because originally was going to be one, and one of the ideas can actually mingle around with one of the stuff I was going to bring up. Anyway, so I have two ideas for the swarm, so it's going to be like, you know, the ones that are like, oh, the Snatchers captured humans or whatever. And you have some other idea from the beast types. With some beast types. I don't know what was I saying. Some beast types. Anyway, and originally I was thinking about I can talk over while I'm playing gameplays with this. Cause I've been thinking about doing some Gears of War stuff. I mean, not Gears of War, Destiny. What the? Oh, hey, Auntie. Anyway, I don't think about doing some Gears of War discussion, like playing games like Call of Duty or Destiny. So it works, but like for me, like this, like the OC thing or something. I feel like, okay, so like the OC things, I want to actually, I'm thinking about actually drawing, so I don't have to like explain in great detail what they would look like, and I can just show you what like the base design of how I would have it, and then give like a background and whatnot. Now, of course, they're gonna like look kind of average. Like I mean not average, but they're gonna at least look like the swarm. So I'm gonna have like a base drawing for the swarm for both of them. Though of course I'm gonna probably have to practice on multiple swarm ideas before I do the colorations and other pieces I want. But I'll get into detail about them when I actually do the solo videos after I draw like a base design and then tell you when I'm visiting, you know. Yeah. So those are definitely gonna get their own thing. So got that. The Mecha Construct stuff I'll probably do like, I'll probably say that while comparing like actual Mecha Construct figures. But you know, for like random Gears of War talk, I mean I'll probably label it Gears of War talk while I'm playing the game, you know what I'm saying? You know. Or I'll probably have like the Destiny game and then / Gears of War talk. So yeah. Now here's the thing I wanted to say. Alright, first thing I want to make some clarifications first, so I can go ahead with the idea of like how I can say how they can fix their mess. Okay. So me personally, I want to clarify that some of the information I had to read up it. I've only read like barely anything of one of the comics. I have played a little of Gears of War 1, and you know, and I said play of a too strong word because my youngest brother's dad. I played with him for co-op a little bit. And really be honest, I can only say I only played for a little bit, from a little bit before we go to the Krill section. The Krill section, when you get to deal with the little lamps. I barely dealt with the boomers. Barely. And then when I think I only remember going and trying to kill Ram. And that was it. I didn't play none of the other things. So I don't really. So I can't even say I played. I played the whole game of Halo 4 though. Anyway. So it's me. So really, base thing is me reading comic and me just watching all the cutscenes on YouTube, pretty much. Which, so some of y'all like higher game companies, y'all may or may not want to hear me, but you know, I want to let myself actually say some stuff, you know. And you know, I have ideas. Okay, so one thing is this. This one's stuff for like the people in it. Now the swarm and the locust, they're not the same thing, okay? Now I'm not saying like, oh, they completely do different species. Well, okay, they're separate species, but not different species. Well, a little more, they kind of are now. So I'm not saying the people like, oh yeah, the locust died and now it's just a new creature or enemy. No, no, no. All right. So we already know the scenes of the swarm are straight up evolved from the locust. Now the little swarm drones and whatnot, technically that's not the locust evolving, that's technically whatever these snatcher things came from, turning organisms, humans at least for now, into swarm. But you know, it had nothing to do with the scenes, technically. They're just leading the charge. So I want you to think of like the original locust compared to the scenes, because we can't, because when the swarm is a bit different, it really is. It may lack tact or whatever, but it's still technically different. Seeing how there's only one or two group things from like the old thing. Now I want to remember when the swarm, with the scenes of the swarm evolved. Okay, so I want you to think of like a Starsuchus, a Capuchus, you know, prehistoric ancient crocodiles. You know, and I might probably use a snake too. Crocodiles compared to like modern day crocodile. You can't say, oh, a Starsuchus is a crocodile. They're probably crocodiles. Crocodiles evolved from them. Crocodiles lived for a long gene period, but a Starsuchus and a standard crocodile are not the same thing. And if they give you more insight, think of Titan boa compared to like a modern day anaconda, or a Magnera to a modern day dragonfly. They're not the same thing. They evolved differently. They evolved, I mean, the ancestors evolved to that state, yes. But they're genetically not the same creature at this point. They evolved better. They upgraded. Like genetically.
Alert. I'm detecting abnormal vex activity.
But they're not necessarily the same thing. It's not, but it's not like, oh, they're a separate species. Like, okay, so they're technically a separate species, but it's not like, oh, it's like these things are not related, or oh, these things have nothing to do with it. It's not like that. It's more like, oh, a cataclysmic event forced them to evolve near extinction, and now they're coming armed. Cause because like for how many scenes are actually in the swarm, I want to say it's probably 100 or 200 in total.
Calculating probabilities.
To be honest, and that might be a stretch.
Yes, they are.
Which is why they're leading the other swarm drones and all that. You mainly see the new humanoids one. Which, to be honest, eventually those are going to be the ones to take over, unless you know the CNs and them just naturally start breeding. Which I don't know what's going to happen with that. Bring the numbers, but the numbers them pretty gone. The swarm is pretty much being made up of the new blood, which is not evolved from the locust at all. So you have that to worry about. Okay, but now we got the whole evolution thing, whatnot. That they evolve, but they're different creatures now. It's more like the genetic species evolution versus a we'll call it like two separate things. You gotta realize that the majority of the swarm in bulk is the terraform creatures and these new creatures that were never part of the locust. Okay. Now I'm not saying, oh, these have no experience with the swarm, or like the gameplay is no better than the locust, or like, you know, it's not really newer than the locust, probably lower class. I'm not saying none of that. God dang it, I died. Okay, we captured it. Anyway, what I'm saying is that I'm not talking about, I'm talking about like genetic wise at this point. And the only thing technically from the original locust that is in the swarm is the Scions, and they evolve. Like they're different things now. They're different. It's a different organism now. They even have a whole different hive mind. And I want you guys to remember. And I kind of consider the swarm as the pure fusion of like the Lampent and locust, because this thing, Locusts, their goal was to wipe out humanity, kill everything. Right? Alright. Lampet, their goal was to kill or infect everything. Swarm, kill or convert everything into swarm. They're literally, they plan to abduct organisms, at least humans right now, and turn them into the swarm. And the thing is this, they don't need the body, they're like xenomorphs, they don't need the body alive, they just need the body intact to transform a swarm. So they can legit get a whole flipping human, a dead human, they can find corpses and turn them into live drones. And if now some of y'all who know about aliens will know, aliens predator will know, y'all may not know this, some of y'all may do, but xenomorphs do not need, the facehugger does not need the organism to be alive, it just needs the organism to be intact. Surprisingly. Now I remember when I was younger, I thought the organism needed to be alive. No, the body just needs to be intact. And the same goes for the swarm. Yeah. So really they can just murder everything and then use the dead bodies to make new swarm. Being that I got that rant out the way, what else to add to the facts? Oh, there's no movers. Okay. Anyway. Dang, that shield. Anyway, so I'm just over here like, alright. So the CNs are the only things like from the true look. So one, and the thing is like the CNs they evolved from the Lymphocy, not disintegrating from the bodies, but like extending from the bodies, making cocoons. Because what the genetic makeup allows them to evolve by hibernating to evolve in certain conditions. Like if they needed to grow, if they personally needed to grow wings or fins to survive the area, they could. Heck, imagine Merle CNs or something. That would be interesting. Anyway, but yeah, makeup. But really, the CNs are the true. The answers to CNs, which locusts, are the subterranean things, not all the hollow creatures, which I think a lot of people forgetting. Alright, now I have a way from the fixing this now. As you know, the hollow creatures are not locusts. They don't have the impulsion in their blood, in their vein. They weren't genetically altered, and you know they should not have been affected by the countermeasure. Okay, and Swarmax, you know, is a, so I have a thing about this. So here's what this. All like the weapon now, all the creatures that they have personally weaponized during their last fight, they starved to death. You know, no one controlled them and they can't move by themselves. They started to death. The Siege Beasts, the ones that they had locked up, they starved to death. They starved to death. Any natural Siege Beasts that was still under hollow or whatever, they might be alive breeding. Okay. Now I have a way for them to mess with this. Now, hollow creatures could have collapsed because the flipping locusts, you know, they were a lot of them were personally being controlled, you know, by the machine, like the Brewmax one, they're being controlled by machine, right? So when the locusts lost their little temper crow, while the things were in command mode instead of self-thinking mode, they all collapsed because, you know, kind of like a puppet cut with strings, but you know they weren't affected by the measure. It was effective of their masters not controlling them. So like the Reavers, you know, I'm pretty sure they walked back up and then they left. They went back, they went to caves, back to the hollow, they went somewhere, but they're not dead. The Reavers are not extinct, they were not affected. Corpsers, you know, they got up, they woke back up, and they went back underground to breed. They're not dead. Okay. And then let's see. Now everything else, like the blood mounts, they went back underground or whatever they lived. Now for something like the siege beast or like the little hot air balloon creature, they all start, the ones they were using as vehicles and all that, they started to death. They started to death because they can't move on their own. They were tortured to the point they couldn't operate. So only the natural ones that weren't captured lived. So everything else is dead. That's why in Gears 4 we see that one that has his ribs exposed. They all starved to death. Okay, couldn't move. Okay, now, like I said, I don't personally see us having a swarm corpser. I don't expect to see it. I'm not expecting us to see a corpser with crystals on them or anything like we see the swarm Brumac. Now here's how I'm saying they can flip and fix their mess. Alright. They can fix their mess. The creators can fix their mess with this whole Swarmac mess and make it at least sound somewhat reasonable. Okay. So remember how I was saying how they were cut like puppets with their strings, but they weren't affected by cameras, or the fact that their masters lost control, so they collapsed because they're under control instead of like their own instincts. Alright. So here's how it worked because of Swarmac. Swarmacs personally collapsed definitely because, you know, they're being controlled against their will a lot anyway. Okay. Over command. So we got this. Now we already stated the crystals are implosion or lymphocyte, whatever name you want to give them. They're hardened lymphocyte that extended outside the body to make the metamorphosis.
Bag's activity has flatlined.
Because
Taking your zone off alert.
So we have that to think about. But you know, it's still, in a sense, it's still lymphocyte implosion, right? Alright. So I'm thinking this. Okay, you know, because here's the thing. So, you notice the crystals are only on like the guns in his face, right? You notice like all these Brumacs like have like rotten flesh, bursts, and broken teeth. All right, so here's what happened. Here's the theory. Here's the theory and the explanation that they could use. That way they cannot. They be like, oh, this is why we don't have swarm corpses and how swarm Brumacs can be a thing. Okay, so you have the pilot that's driving the Brumac. You have all the random all the random about to evolve locusts turn to Scions. They all fall down to the ground, right? Alright. So, the Brumacs fall to the ground, and they're always near like a bunch of locusts. So, the Brumacs fall to the ground on top of the bodies. So, the bodies are on them, under them, and all that. And, you know, I don't know if the Gears dropped the Brumac bodies down there when they dropped all the locust bodies. I'm not sure. But, you know, if they did decide to drop those bodies down there too, then the more bodies fell on top of them. Okay. Now we got one thing. We already know that the Brumacs didn't go through the whole evolution change like the Scions did. Because one, they didn't have that whole countermeasure anti-evolve thing, and two, their whole body didn't come out of crystal. So they fell onto the bodies, and mind you, the bodies are just now starting the metamorphosis. So you know they're not crystal cocoons yet. Cause I think it took like what 2-3 days for them to actually full on crystallize. So it's extending out. So the Brumac's all over it, right? So the crystals, like we got the one in the face, dig into his head. The crystals, like the lymphocyte, when it's controlling the beast, because you know it's still technically opposing lymphocyte, which has the whole control everything connected mindset, and that's dug into his brain. Which is why you get crystals in the face, and why it can see and operate on its own under control. And then you know the random guns, you know, because the crystals, the body got bent and corroded around there. You know, it probably messed up a couple of the the swarm seeing things from molting. But you know, why would they need the molt if they can combine with the Brumacs to control them and just be inside their head, right? So these Scions fuse with the Brumac's body to control them for the swarm. Okay. And then you gotta think, in the fact that the Brumacs are still its own organism, the Brumacs are technically half dead and rotted, which is why you see a lot of them already with missing teeth and like they barely got any, because like you see a Brumac, you see how when they bleed it was like a lot of bloody, right? You see the Swarmac, you notice that the blood's like dry, it's like it's rotten. That's because the little Leprosy kept it alive enough to be controlled for it's live enough to function, but not live enough to actually consume in order to be the organism, so it's still half dying, but it's still being controlled. That's what we see, like a raw rotten teeth and like blisters and all that, because it's technically not even fully alive. They're pretty much using the corpse. Swarmax are pretty much corpses of Brumax with the little swarm crystals inside their heads. And that's how the Swarmax are come to existence and work for the Swarm and how they operate. Now, like I said, this is me saying this. This is not canon. I'm saying they can use that explanation. Which, watch my videos. I'll probably bring this up multiple times when I go over the Gears of War stuff. But if y'all watching my YouTube channels, whatever, well, I'll probably have like stuff saying Gears of War. Use this as excuse to use a Swarmac, but you know, make it actually so it makes sense of why we have Swarmax, but we're not gonna get other creatures, especially since other creatures wouldn't evolve anyway, since how they're natural creatures, while the Seons were the only ones with the evolution and only ones that would be affected by the countermeasure. Now they do use that reasoning. One, they probably got it from me because I just said it, and then two, I'll be alright with them using it because they need clarification, because the Swarmax, that made no sense for them just to do that. Because they could have, I understand they try to show like, oh yeah, we got someone else, but the Seons are the only thing that's really from the Locusts. They really it. The Seons are the only thing in the Swarm that's actually technically evolved from the Locusts. And the Locusts were only those things, not the animals that they enslaved, none of that. So I'm alright, and hopefully they would use that reasoning. It makes sense. Now, like I had little plans off her going to dip in a whole nother time frame. I think I gotta shoot this little thing. Anyway. Dang, now I can't run from that rock. God damn, they wasted my time. Okay, I gotta reload. What's up with grab the ammo? Anyway, as I was saying, like I said, I'll probably bring this up multiple times. So, to me, are we gonna get any swarmified creatures of the past? Like Fortress Swarm? I don't think so. Cause like, so if we get like a swarm corpse, it's not gonna be like, oh, we found the bodies and they had crystals on them. No, that's not gonna work. Cause like, while I gave that reasoning for the Swarmac, the thing is this: the Swarmac has like a robot suit, so they technically sometimes cannot even move on their own without a pilot. If it's set to drive, if they're set to be controlled. The corpses don't have to be controlled. The corpses would have got up and left. No, so that reasoning would not work, especially since a corpser would automatically move anyway. So that reason will not work on any other creature. That was why I say the other creatures just up and left and went back somewhere else. just went somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying that we can't have them work for the swarm. That now, if we were to get like a swarm corpser, the only way I can see it happening is the same we got the Kraken. Now remember, the Kraken is not naturally affiliated with the swarm. It's a hollow creature like the Leviathan and the Wolfram, everything like that. The only reason the Kraken was working for the swarm is because of those leeches. The leeches literally infested the Kraken's body from inside out and controlled it. And we seen that the swarm has the ability to control robots and all this other stuff. So now we have, like, you know, we go with corpsers whatnot, or just chilling, right? And the leech is like, hey, look, let's control them. And we see like a corpser that's now spitting out leeches because it's infected with leeches working with them. I can see that happen. The thing is this: one, I won't think the swarm really would need corpsers, because, you know, the locusts, they use the corpses to dig and tunnel. You know what I'm saying? The swarm, now while the swarm probably will try to affect anything regardless, they would not need the corpser help. Because one, I think it looks like they can tunnel and dig, kind of like how the Lampet did with the stalks, because I swore I saw random flesh pop up, but I think that might just be with the new swarm queen. But another thing is this: the corpses are going to be probably deep underground in caves that no one's going to go for. The swarm are not worried about random caves. They're worried about expanding. I mean, if they randomly found the corpses while expanding, okay, but like they're more focused on turning all the humans into swarm, and then they'll probably go for everything else. But yeah, the only way I can see like us getting like a swarm corpser is if A, they get infected with leeches, and the other thing is like we have like a giant snatcher converted into some type of new spider armored drone thing. But you do want to mention the snatchers again, but you know, that's something I don't think will happen. Anyway, so I'll bring that up. So like the Reavers, I don't think they're going to come back. And plus the swarm don't look like ones that use actual vehicles. No, I don't think they want to. Everything serves a purpose in the swarm. So you have that. So that's how they can fix their mistake in Landslide, how, you know, they can slide with the, oh yeah, this is how we got Swarm Max. Yeah, and I'll probably bring this up later on in the Gears of War discussion. Oh yeah, one thing that we'll discuss is who is going to be canonly dead for Gears 6, JD or Dell, which I got compelling arguments for both, but really I feel like canonly Dell will live. But I have a reason. One of my OC characters revolved around that, so you'll see. But yeah, we're not here for that. We're for the creatures. Now we could get different swarm variations. Like one, the snatchers can grab and use anything. You know what I'm saying? So one, I'm thinking we'll eventually have like the horses or some other land creature get abducted by snatchers. Now I don't know what we need, like a larger snatcher for the horses. The snatchers are decent size, but I don't know if like they can fit the horse thing, the bull horses, into their stomachs if they were to curl it up or whatnot. I'm not sure. They might. I mean, they always go for like a dead horse and then like probably swallow it up. But you know, I'm not really sure. I mean, we could get like a larger variation of like the flipping snatcher, but I'm not thinking like a large variation like how the high beast could be like a larger. Is labeled like a larger mega sized carrier. I'm just not like class. But we can have like something like, oh, it's a berserk snatcher, which is built for like giant wild creatures. Maybe we see some other hollow creatures that we didn't know about, you know? Cause I mean, there's plenty of hollow creatures down there that we didn't know about that they can use. Heck, who knows? Maybe the leeches will affect the Leviathan. Maybe we'll see the Leviathan again. We see like a swarm Leviathan, and it's just like infected with leeches. And like we kind of like how we shot the Lampet Leviathan, where it had like the little polyps come out of his eye. You shoot both of his eyes, and leeches come out of his eye. which I think is very creepy, but hey, could be, could work. Yeah, but I'm thinking we're gonna see more like snatcher creatures, like more swarm creatures be genetically altered. Genetically altered, so you have that. Looks like it work. And you know they infect, they were like control or swarmify newer creatures that we never seen. You know, bring in some new hollow creatures. Though they're not really that deep to be in the hollow, but you know, bring in some other animals that we know about, or you know, you just have some more swarm variations. Because I mean, the snatchers and carriers and pouncers, they just came out of nowhere. We don't even know if they even genetically evolved like the flipping, like the swarm drone or not. I mean, they have the new coloration. They're just darker with the red. And it's like we still can't confirm if they just, when the locusts were evolving into Seans, they come to exist. It's like, hey, let's help them evolve and have a new army. Or if they were somehow genetically evolved by the Seans to make them new army, which I don't think the Seans actively would do that, would know about that. So I think my theory is, with all the dead bodies and all the evolution and impulsion and all that, that they had creatures actively evolved. Because remember, the limpet, it mutated you to your strongest form. In a sense, the Limpicy was evolution, a messed up form of evolution, but it was still evolution. You know, because you gotta realize that mutation half the time is kind of evolution, evolving. It's evolving. There we go. So, you know, with all the dead bodies and corpses and whatnot, you know, and they can't reanimate dead bodies, the snatchers and carriers could have came to be that specific purpose before they can like reproduce properly. Because you know, like the snatchers, all snatchers are female apparently. I don't know how they give birth to the pouncers, but you know, that's the case. Carriers, I think carriers are females too. Now I don't know if those little polyps even grow into carriers, because you know, you see like the large swarm have flipping leeches. But you know what? When you look at a carrier, you know, it literally has like a slug back body. So who knows? They could be shooting children. I mean, it won't be the first time a creature shoots its kids at people. But you know, if they want to, like, they can. I mean, the way they get going, we're just gonna. It's just gonna be like, it's only gonna be like a couple CNs left, and then everything else is just gonna be like the new swarm. Because you gotta realize that the biomeasure only worked on the locusts that were out in the open and that were alive. Okay. Everything else, you know, like the lampet, they disintegrated, and then because apparently, because we see that the locusts that were in the little science lab, they were not affected by the cameras. They were actually pure-blooded locusts. Well, like they were literally locusts. They weren't swarm. They were actual locusts. And then we have the fact that the dead bodies didn't go to the biomeasure because they were dead. So I mean, the locusts were already low in number to begin with. So any of them that were just killed before the countermeasure hit, they were just dead. Their body didn't evolve to change. So I don't even think that means Seans left. I don't think it means locusts that evolved to the Seans. Like I said, 100, 200 actual Seans. And we did see more in Gears 5, but you know. Also, I want to go back to the whole imposing leprosy evolve thing. Because, I mean, remember, like, the Lampent Berserker. That thing is not blind. It can straight up see you. And it seems to be bulkier and stronger. Luckily, during the fight, his chest cavity open allows us to get a weak spot in. Man, but you got that. You got that. I can probably end the video in a little bit because it started at like 12. It's about to be 1. Anyway, so you have that, and then yeah. Now, I do think we'll get Swarm Berserkers, though. Here's my thing: they're gonna be the same size as the flipping Wardens. Okay, people. Like one, like how we got the Hunters with the Swarm Drones being the female counterparts, the size is not variation, and how the whole sizes for the Berserkers and whatnot was because of the whole of a dark time that the creator was going through. That might be one reason why, you know, the CNs are just actively larger now. Cause you know what? I mean, to be honest, there were like when you see like the old games, you see like the grenadiers and all that, the boomers are like only like 2 feet smaller than the Berserkers or 3 feet, but they're close to the height. And they're like General Ram, he was the same size as a Berserker. So the Berserkers, I don't think they're gonna get bigger. I think they're gonna be the same size they were beforehand. So they're gonna be the same size as the Wardens. I think the only thing we're gonna get from like the Swarm Berserkers is the fact that they would be covered. Really, they'd be just covered in crystal, which make them more powerful. Because here's my thing: they evolve. So one, I'm thinking a Swarm Berserker is not blind. Because why would the creature still be evolved? Would evolve and not have better eyesight? Just wouldn't make sense. It really wouldn't make no sense. So, one, I don't think they're gonna be blind, unless their eyes are covered in crystal. Which, to be quite honest, I don't even think they can be blind with the crystals over there. Because one, we have the fact the Swarmax can properly see, which again they are, like I said, technically reanimated corpses. But you know, they're just moving forward, and half the time, the majority of the time, they don't got pilots. Unlike Brumax, they always have pilots. But that's the thing with it. There was no evolution with it. It's just literally undead. Literally just undead. Literally just undead. Okay, just go get that last one. Anyway. So, but really it'll be stronger. And I feel like they should have the intelligence now to think more. And like I said, I feel like they would just have more attack. Because besides the fact that they'll be like stronger, you know, and go through. I feel like that I feel like that they will evolve more to have better eyesight or whatnot. So it's like, oh no, Swarm Berserker, and they just charge. You just have to run, just straight up run. The thing is with this, while the crystals come out their skin and whatnot, their head might be more vulnerable. Because now that they got crystals around the head, maybe they can work. Maybe you have to fight them the same way you had to shoot a Warden. Because you know what? The Warden is bulletproof, except for his head. And you got to shoot out the helmet for it. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, the Wardens work as Berserkers did. In a sense. So, maybe you have to keep shooting the head. Because you know what? I feel like for the evolution purposes, they would the shell would leave the head to allow more movement for the thing. Because the thing's going to properly see now. So, if more movement for it can actually make Tetsuya can look 360, just understand what's going on. and we go for the head. But like I said, a berserker probably will think more. Now I don't know what they start using weapons. They might. Who knows? Maybe they'll have clubs. And I'm not talking about like how we got like the mace that like the Warriors got. I'm talking about like imagine them have like if you watch Fate. Remember Berserker Hercules? Imagine clubs that like they have like oversized giant Cyclops clubs that they just bash into people. And another thing I was thinking about, since if they would have the crystals and they can see into that, I'm thinking like, now remember how they had the Matriarch, right? The Matriarch was ripping off spikes off her back to throw at people. So I'm thinking it rips off the crystals off of it and throws at the player weapon. Now we have to hammer a Dawn back, so we can have a swarm Zerker fight and use the hammer of Dawn to defeat it. Now unless they don't want to play that route with like, oh yeah, the hammer of Dawn is only would defeat it, they could have it where like the Swarm Zerker, when they rip off the shell, since it's still technically part of their skin and it's grown to be like extra armor, when they rip off the scales to attack, it leaves openings in the body that you can shoot. They could do that. Now I think that's the only thing of the Locusts that will be back from the Science, that's like the Science, because a female Scion will still be a Berserker, like Swarm Zerker will still be a Scion. They'll just, I feel like reason we should still have the as like maybe like as varied from the other Locusts or not. I mean, they're not gonna wear. I still think they're not gonna wear armor at all. But they'll probably use more tactics and they can see. Who knows? Maybe they'll use guns. I don't know. Maybe the flipping Swarm Zerkers will start talking and be like, "Human fall to trap," or something. I don't know. But like, as for like the Khannist priests and all that, well, my thing is this: they're in the natural blood flow, so a lot of the things we got could be the priests. I just don't think we're gonna see like any of the Khatis, Scion and Khatis like start chanting and bringing back Swarm, because they're using numbers of difference. Because I think in the final assault that a lot of the Khatises were killed, and I think there's only like high rank ones and those were killed. So there might not be any like natural conscious left to evolve, but since the Khatis are still part of this actual standard Locust blood tree, we could still get them. But the thing is this: you gotta realize that like while they evolved, the Khatis were still Locusts. It was more like them having like holy priest magic, pretty much, but they were still Locusts. So we probably have a couple of them already hatched out. But you gotta realize the whole thing with the Locusts have for priests was about like religion and about them reanimating them. The Scions, while evolved and smarter, are not in the same concept of religion. It's like the whole swarm is a thing. They're not like building towers and monuments. They're building like biomass. So Khana priests, while we might have them and we might actually see and have those little Scions that we see in the swarm that we kill, or it might be them. You might get the design, similar design to them being upgraded, like you have one that's armored. We're not going to probably have any of them be like, oh, bring back my swarm brothers. That's not gonna happen, especially since they blow up like the Lampet. So we might have the kind of species, but we're not. The whole thing that made them important is not gonna happen. They're still going to evolve like the standard Locusts, like the Locusts will evolve the Scions. They're still blood, is just more like magic. So it wouldn't really serve a purpose in this one. I'm not saying this like I actually like, especially the ones that literally had like the metal in Scourge. I like Scourge, and then the conscious that had like the hedgehog steel metal. I like that. But it's just like the whole purpose that they had would be limited. I mean, we can still get design wise and have them like attack differently and them screaming maybe they scream and they blow things up. So, ooh, what if the CN evolved conscious? They like locusts kind of just like to scream. So what if like these things evolved to have the scream affect people that actually harm them? So like these things, you start shooting them, then you tick them off, and then they start screaming. You have to get out like the sound wave, or you're gonna get an instant death because it blows your head up. I mean, the carrier has a strong enough pipes to blow your head off. We have something that you have to see the sound waves, and you have to stay out the sound waves and not get blown up by your head blown up by them. You just be like they be screaming. That could work. That could work. Okay. Style that. I don't know if I'm gonna remember that the next time I bring it up, but yeah. Alright, but like I said, this is not like a Gears of War explanation. We'll probably get taught more videos like this separately at different times. You want to like, subscribe, show your friends. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. Yeah. Hopefully it's actually recorded. I'm gonna be mad. And let the chaos guide you.